Hello and welcome to Marlborough Junior Reporters. Today's guests are Janna Coffin and James Gaudette, owners of New City Music Studio in Marlborough. Janna and James, welcome to the show.
So, a little question I have for you guys is, how does rehearsing and performing live, is it different from teaching, or is it harder?
So rehearsing is where you get to make all your mistakes. Rehearsing is where you get to try stuff out, see if it works, see what doesn't work. Performing live is always an adventure because you never know what's going to happen. We both, I'll speak for both of us, we both love to perform, but it can be nerve-wracking. Teaching is different because teaching, there's not the same pressure as performance. At least that's how I feel about it. How about you?
Yeah, I feel like performing, you have to put on a show. Rather, when you're rehearsing, you can kind of be yourself, but you kind of have to play to the audience when you're live. So you have to do a little more effort, stuff like that,
And how hard is it to just plan out your whole day of rehearsing and then getting to the actual show itself? Is it nerve-wracking for you guys, or is it calm, easy, like you've done it before?
I think it's kind of a mixture. We've certainly both been performing pretty much our whole lives, so we're used to it, but every gig is different. So for instance, if you have a gig at night, you've got the whole day to sort of get through and get ready for. Musicians tend to not like early gigs. Singers don't sound great in the morning. So there are benefits to all different types of gigs, but it is nice when you have a little more time to rehearse. Yeah.
And is it easy learning, the songs and then having to play them in front of a larger audience or even a small audience?
Yeah, sometimes you have to, if you're working for a band leader or something like that, sometimes they add new songs or you go off what the audience wants. So say if you're playing slow songs and they're like, they want to dance or something, then you have to do fast songs. So you really have to, cater to the audience. So sometimes it's nerve-wracking where, you want to, come across really good for the audience.
I don't think we have set lists planned out. We do gigs from 45 minutes up to, we had one that was 3 hours. And you plan it out, but again, there are times, I don't think we've ever done it in the order we think we're going to. You have a set list kind of planned out and then you get there and usually don't do it in that order. So we have worked together enough that we're pretty good at calling out okay, let's do this one. You have to kind of read the room and see what people want.
Yeah. Sometimes you get requests too. Then you have to make some stuff up if you don't know the song.
And as you're have you guys written any other songs together or with other people?
Jim's written a lot of songs.
Yeah.
I would consider him more of a songwriter than I am. I would consider myself more of a lyricist. So Jim has written tons of songs, and we've done 3 together. Well, one that he wrote before and I tweaked a little.
Yeah.
And then we've written a couple more together where he has come up with the sort of tune of everything, and then I'll come up with words, and he's generous enough to let me mess around with the melody, for the song that we did. He had come up with the general tune, and then I wrote the words. And
so I really basically write the music, and then when she starts singing, then I can change change the music to the lyrics.
Wow.
And then we kind of together will go over the structure of a song. We'll talk it through and be do we want to do a verse and a chorus? When do we need a bridge in there? Is there a solo? So that kind of stuff we'll talk about together once we have sort of the bones of what we're going to do.
So it's really just teamwork and keep it together.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now, before we ask Janna and James any more questions, they will perform their original song, The Meadow.
Just a lonely girl, always hoping for a new day, a new day. In a tired world, I'm just trying to make my own way. to soothe my soul. I go down to the meadow to be alone. I can't change the past, I can only live right now, right now. When it's all too fast and I need things to slow down, slow down. I go down to the meadow to soothe my soul. I go down to the meadow to be alone. When it's all too much and I wanna run and hide, when I need your touch, need to have you by my side, we go down to the meadow to soothe our souls. We go down to the meadow to be alone.
Thanks so much, Janna and James, for performing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My first question for you is, how'd you guys get started with everything?
I'll let you go first on this one.
Well, do you mean in music in general?
Yeah.
In 1975, I was 5 years old, and I'm old, I know. I saw Elvis on TV, and I really asked my father. I said, "Can I get a record album?" It was a record of that, and he bought me that. Then I said, "I want to take guitar lessons," because I heard the guitar on it. And so that's how I got started in music, really.
I was also 5, although I'm not quite as old as him. So it was like 1981 for me. And my grandmother was a piano teacher and a church organist. And I think somebody asked me to sing at a talent show at the church that I went to, and I sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and that was it. I wanted to be a singer. And then my dad bought me a piano because I said I wanted to learn how to play. Well, I wanted to play the piano. And so he bought me one, and I said, I don't need lessons. I can do this on my own. And then about 2 weeks later, I was crying because I didn't know how to do anything. So I started taking lessons.
What kind of music is your favorite?
I knew you guys were going to ask that. So I don't have a favorite genre. I think if you talk to enough musicians, I think you'll find that most of us have a pretty broad range of stuff that we like. I grew up loving jazz because that's something that my dad listened to. I also grew up in a really rural area of Maine where everybody listened to country. So I tried not to like it, but I did. And then I ended up doing a lot of musical theater. So I love Broadway stuff. If I turn on the radio though and pick something to listen to, it's kind of emo, guys. It's like Duran Duran, Depeche Mode, The Smiths, The Cure, that kind of stuff, which is from my childhood and slightly before.
Yeah. I started liking swing jazz. It was like music from the 1930s that my grandfather used to listen to. I liked like classic rock and roll, surf music, Western swing, stuff like that. I liked also in the 80s when I was probably your guys' age, I used to like alternative music. They didn't call it that then. They just, I don't know what they called it, but it was, stuff like she said, like the Smiths, The Cure. It was just kind of like new wave, what they call it, post-new wave music or something.
What challenges have you guys faced when opening your business?
So many. Opening a business is really, really hard. It's really rewarding at the end of the day because you get to be your own boss, you get to make your own schedule, but It's also really exhausting because you're always working, and because we work together and we live together, we're always working.
Yes.
So it's one of our first challenges was actually just finding a place to open our studio. We started in one location, and we had some challenges we were in an old building, and we had like floods, and then we found another place, and then our lease ran out. And so one of the big challenges is just finding a home for your business. And it can be expensive. You almost always run into things that you haven't planned for financially. There's taxes and there's all kinds of craziness. And then we kind of had to decide not to talk about business at certain times, because it's not unusual at 10 o'clock at night to be like, oh, hey, is that person coming for a lesson? And we have to remind ourselves like to turn that off. So I don't know what challenges you.
I would say the same thing. I think it's not like a 9 to 5 typical job. You take it home with you, but it's a passion too. So it's not really negative. There's a lot of positive things too, but it's a lot of work, but it's fun. It's worth it.
I don't think either of us would ever really. We've both worked 9 to 5 kind of jobs, and it's not our. I don't think we would ever want to go back to that. Once you've been an entrepreneur, that's kind of where you stay.
All right. So my question for you guys, and it might answer some other people's questions who are watching. Where is New City Music located, and what are the hours of?
Yeah. So we are at 165 Lakeside Ave in Marlborough. It's kind of across from the lake. They just built this really cool new boardwalk on the lake. We're right across from there. And our hours kind of are flexible. It depends on the day. We're not like a typical business that's open like, 10 to 6 or whatever. Most of our lessons are in the afternoons and evenings, because that's when people are out of school and home from work. But we do, we have a private school that comes on Friday mornings. So typically we're there 3 to 8, but we encourage people just to give us a call and set up a lesson time with us.
Yeah.
And my last question for you guys is, what is your favorite part of owning New City Music?
What's your favorite part?
I think you can structure your lessons any way you want. You can do what you like to do, and you can make your own hours. You can do the hours you want to do.
I really love that we just get to spend our whole day doing what we love, because as you heard, we both started doing music when we were, before we did much else with our lives. So it's really nice just to be able to do that all day, every day, and make a living at it.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
How did you two meet and get together?
We met on the internet, because that's how people meet these days.
Right.
So we met on the internet, and I reached out to him because I was like, oh, a musician, cool. And we had the same hours. We both were teaching at different. Neither of us had the business. We started it together. So we were teaching in different places, and we had the same schedule, so it worked out.
Right. So we were teaching at different places, and we said, why don't we teach the way we want to? So we brainstormed, and we came up with a way to figure out how we can take our experience and combine it together.
When we first met, Hudson, Marlborough was right in the center of where we both were living. So we met there for our first date, and then we were like, oh, this actually would be a good place to open our business.
Right.
So we met the very end of 2015, and we opened the business in
2017.
The very beginning of 2017.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
What do you think is the best album ever made?
Why would you do this? I don't know. I don't know if I can.
That's
album.
For me, I could pick out my favorite album of each genre that I like, but I would say if I only could pick one album, it would be The Velvet Guitar by Hank Garland. It's a jazz record.
I don't think I could pick one, but if I had to pick an album I would want to listen to over and over again, it would be Duran Duran, Notorious.
Yeah.
It's not the best album ever made. Sorry. I love Duran Duran. It's not. It's just what I would listen to forever if I could.
Thank you.
You are
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janna and Japes, for coming onto our show. It was lovely to have you guys here.
Thank you very much.
So nice to be here.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of Marlborough Junior Reporters. We'll see you next time with the Marlborough News.
And now, James is going to play us out with beef jerky.